Hello, everyone. How is it going? This is Pastor Sky all the way over here in Malaysia at this moment. It is another Taco Tuesday. So my question to you guys is, how was your weekend? I'm sure you guys had an amazing weekend. A couple shout outs here, people friendly and people, the faces that we want, faces, the names that we know all the time. Thank you so much, Yanlan, Mirasol, Jenny for coming out early, and for everyone else just coming in the room, making the atmosphere, talking, and just enjoy this time together today. And what do we say? Today's story is gonna be about the hidden treasure, okay? So I hope that everyone is kind of ready for me to go over this short story, which is like one sentence. It's really, really short. But the question I want to ask everyone right now is, what are you drinking? Okay. So I'm drinking right here is what you call, it's got like real lime inside of it. It's called honey lime fresh drink, I guess, right? So what are you drinking right in your room? Not sure what you guys are drinking at this time. Cool. So get your drinks ready, your water, drink, whatever it is, or if you're eating dinner right now, and we're going to go ahead into today's Taco Tuesday, which is the 12th. We're on the 12th Taco Tuesday already, and we're going to go over the story of the hidden treasure, okay? So let's get ready for this. So we're going to start first. This story is very interesting because, like I said, it's one verse. It's super short. Like, how can a story be that short? So let's just take a look at the verse first in Matthew 13:44. It's so short. Kingdom of heaven is like a treasure in the field. Man found it, hid it, and for joy over it, he goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. Boom, story over. Right? So this thing is like, hey, the kingdom of God is like treasure hidden in the field, found it, hid it, joyed over it, sells everything, buys it, boom, it's done. And that's like a two-sentence story. I'm sure you haven't heard a story this short before, right? So we're going to go and we're going to kind of extrapolate, even though it's a really, really short story. But you need to understand this in a much deeper way. We kind of look between the lines, right? So in order for us to understand the story much deeper, we have to kind of get into it and say, oh, how does this happen? Where he just, like finds it, then why do you hide it? And after hiding it, why do you sell everything? Like, this stuff may not make sense to you until we go deep into it, okay? So we're going to go over a story today. I'm going to call this a story that maybe Malaysians will know much better. I'll call it the story of Atan. Okay, today's story is the story of Atan. So let's just say in East Malaysia, right, there was a poor village, and in this village there were the Tans. Okay, so the family of Tans, and all their lives they were farmers and they were working for other people, plowing the fields and helping them out with this. And these are the Tans were very, very hardworking. Okay, and they're always working other people's fields. And there was the son, and the son's name was Atan. Okay, now Atan, very, very interestingly, what do we know about him is he works really hard. He is diligent, and he had a dream, and the dream is, man, I want to be an owner and not just someone who works in the fields. So there's this one field in the village, and you know what? None of the farmers wanted to do it, right? It's almost like the last field you work on because it's so hard. So many rocks in the field. When you plow it, it was impossible. So, all those were taken one day, and Atan was left to this field. And he's like, oh, no, not this field. And the owner's like, hey, if you can help me out here. And he's like, okay, sure. I don't know what you'd call him, Ali. Like, Ali, sure. Okay, I'll take care of it. And he thought to himself, he goes, you know what? If one day I'm going to be an owner, if I can handle this field, then how can I handle becoming an owner, right? So it's like he's like, I gotta work hard on this, right? So what he does, he's going to be like, okay, I'm going to work hard on this. So even though everyone else who does the field, they're just fed up with the field and they don't really care when they're plowing the field. There's rocks, they'll go around the rocks, but Atan is like, no way. I'm going to really plow the field like it's my own. So he goes into it, takes his ox and starts plowing the field. And even when everyone else plows like 10 centimeters, he goes 20. He's 20. I'm going to do this. And he's plowing and it's such hard work. And they're bumping into, like they hit rocks like every 2 meters, there's a rock. He stops, he grabs, pulls the rock out, throws it out, and every 2 meters he keeps doing this. And he's like, oh my goodness, it's so frustrating. It's just way too much. So he's thinking to himself, I don't know if I can do this all day. And all of a sudden he's plowing and all of a sudden it's like, and there's this big clunking sound. And he looks and he's like, oh my goodness, this one's a huge rock. Do you know how much work it's going to take out this clean rock? This is a huge rock. And I know it's still there because this field has been plowed hundreds of times and no one has ever stopped. It's just too much work. And then once again, he thinks to himself, if one day I'm going to be an owner, I got to do this. I got to do it like it's my own field. So he says, forget it. So he starts digging it out and digging it out and digging it out. And the more and more he digs, what does he realize? He's like, wait, what is this? It's not a rock. He starts digging more. And he's like, what? And as he did this big thing that he hit, it was this huge treasure. And it was worth more than anything that he has ever seen. And he looks at it and says, oh my goodness. And what does he do? The moment he realized this treasure, this was such a great and big treasure, he buries it again. And he goes off in so much joy that he found something so valuable that he goes and sells everything he has. Even the oxen needed to plow the field. He will sell everything just to buy that field. He goes to the owner and says, you know what? I want to buy this field. And the owner's like, what the heck would you want to buy this field? Why would you want this field? He's like, you know what? This field, I want to be an owner one day, but this is the worst field. And that's why I need to prove to myself I can be an owner. So I want to buy this field. The owner's like, you sure? Because it's not worth much. He's like, yes. And he's like, here, is this much? He's like, where'd you get this money? I sold everything for it. And he buys the field. And then he takes the treasure for himself. And from that point on, he becomes a very wealthy and rich person that is using this treasure to make tons of money. And he finds this crazy hidden treasure. And we're like, wow, what kind of story is this, though, if you think about it, right? So if you think about this, okay. So this story, you came up with this story out of 2 sentences. And the answer is yeah, because, well, we're going to go into it a bit more deeper. And I'm going to go over 3 things from this story. Right? There are 3 things that we can learn from this story, and it's something that I hope that everyone can really benefit in their life, right? This should, when we read these really spiritual or wise books, and I'm taking it from the Bible, these spiritual wise books teach about like life lessons and what we can do to change ourselves even better. So today I'm going to show you 3 different points. We're going to start with the first one. The first point is this: treasure is discovered while you work. You're like, what? What do you mean? Right? You see, the thing that you understand in life is this: treasure, nothing ever just falls into your lap, right? It's not like you ever get like, hey, CEO needed and we want you. It never happens, right? CEOs aren't just given to people, right? Nothing like a treasure will just fall onto you. Opportunities come in life in the midst of you doing things. Right? This is something that's really, really important. Because a lot of times people have that mentality in their heads is like, you know what? Why can't I just win the lottery? Why can't I just do things that it's just going to be so easy, or I can work less and make tons of money? The only people that work really small and make tons of money are people who already worked tons in the past, and they're just reaping from what they benefited right now. You look at Proverbs chapter 13, verse 4, a very interesting verse. It says, the soul of a lazy man desires and has nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made rich, right? The lazy people who don't do anything, all they want is wants. That's all they have is just, I want this and I want that. But in the end, they have nothing. The reality is, it's the soul of the diligent that shall be made rich. If we really realize this about life too. You see, at the time, why was he able to discover it? It wasn't he was just at home lazy and doing nothing about it, just saying, oh, when can I become an owner? When can I become an owner? Everything about him was, I work hard to become an owner. If I want to be an owner, I got to be like this. He was working and working. He had the right attitude. He had the right mentality. And he gained from what he did, from actually being in work. If you never work, you will never find the treasure. If you're not doing something, you will never find the treasure. You see, treasures must be found, right? If it's a hidden treasure, it has to be found. If it's found, which means it's not given, it's you have to go and find it before anything else. Right? If you even think about this, even when something's given to you, someone says, oh, I want you to be the CEO. Do they just choose random people? Like, they open the telephone book, I want this person CEO? Or is this person already working hard, diligent, someone that's impressed all the bosses, and then they say, we give you the CEO? It happens like that. It doesn't happen in a way where people are randomly chosen. Even things that are given, they're given for a reason, because that person was doing something each and every day. There was someone who was working hard. The person proves themselves first, and in your work, you discover more things. When you discover while you do something, right? You discover things in the midst of working, right? And this is something this is for all you students out there. This something is really important. When you guys have to write a paper, right? There's a paper, you have to write like 25 pages or whatever it is. The thing that's crazy about this, like a paper that's 25 pages, the worst part, the hardest part is the idea. We don't know what to write about. And this is the best advice I've ever gotten, is this. Even if you don't have a good idea, write something down. Yeah, write it down. And we're like, but what if it sucks? Like, what if it's a terrible story? And the teacher was like, no, because even if it's terrible, we have something to look at together and we can get ideas from it, right? And that is the same thing as you discover in the midst of working. I might not have this great idea, but great ideas are built. Great ideas are made working off another idea and another one. So if you guys, when you're doing your papers, don't just sit there waiting for the perfect idea to come. You just got to start writing. You just write what you can. Then you have something to talk about with the teacher. New ideas pop out, and you will discover a treasure of a story or an idea in your writing. All right. So that moves to the second one. And this one I think is one of the most important ones, because I know that a lot of people here, just the fact that you're here listening to these talks, it means you are someone who is going out there trying to search, right? Second thing I want to give to you, this advice is dig deeper, right? Dig deep. Now, what does that mean, right? I'm going to show you a verse. It's in 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 6. Very, very interesting here. It says, whoever sows sparingly also reaps sparingly, and whoever sows generously will also reap generously, right? So it depends how much you put in, what you get. You're not going to put in 5% and expect 90%. You put in 90, you get 90. You put in 95, you get what's 95% worth. You see, that field that Atan was working on, he wasn't the only one working on it. Everyone was plowing that field. It wasn't just him. Your life too, it's not like you're the only one who's in class. You're the only one who went to school. You're the only one studying for a test. You're not. You're not the only one doing it, but what's the difference? The difference is not everyone gains. And what's the difference between Atan and the regular people? The regular people did not want to dig deeper. They didn't want to search deeper. They didn't want to plow even more, right? They didn't want to become those people that when they hit a rock, they rather go around. Why? Because it's too big. Life is very similar, guys. You hit problems, and most cases you avoid them. The bigger they get, the more you avoid, right? You gotta dig deep. Everyone dug 10 centimeters to plow, and he said, I'm gonna do 20. Why? I'm gonna do it like it's my own field. The problem is, in most cases, a lot of times, if you look at sometimes when we do work or when we do studying or whatever it is, we do it really superficially, if you think about it, right? We become very superficial, right? And it's something we can't do, because when you do something superficially, you're just kind of it's like you're just kind of grazing and plowing the field, but you're just like, yeah, so I read the book. Yeah, it wasn't that great. And there's other people who read the book and say it's the most amazing book they've ever read. And then another person says oh my gosh, I got nothing from it. It's the difference between those that dig deep and those that don't. It's those that get something from the class, and other people say this class was stupid and dumb. It's whether you're doing it superficial or not. You have to do it well. You need a good mind. You need a good conscience, right? There's so many people in the different things we do, we just graze and we shallowly go over it. But let me tell you this. If you look at all the issues and problems we have in life, they're not solved when we do it in a superficial way or we do it in a very shallow way. Think about it. Imagine someone, you have to say sorry to someone, but you do it superficially. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. All right, let's go back. It won't solve the problem. It's not. When you see these issues and problems coming up with your businesses, with your school, with all the different things, when you just glaze over it, the problems never get resolved. We have to dig deep, right? And when you dig deep, this is when the opportunities come out. Now, the last thing I want to talk to you today, the third thing is this. It is, you guys need to value your treasure, right? And we're like, how do we get this from 2 sentences? You see, the question is, we see the Atan, what did he do? He sold everything, right? He sold everything. We're like, sell everything. That's kind of crazy, don't you think? And we're like, yeah, like, why would you? And the answer is, think about this. Most people are worried about what they're selling off and not what they're actually getting. Atan understood what that treasure was. It was worth more than anything he had. It was worth more than anything, right? That thing was worth more than anything that he had. And it's something so important in our head, because when he understands what he's getting, then the things that he's selling off, he's like, right? We have to understand, sometimes we're too fixated on what we're losing than actually what we're gaining, right? See, if you think about what a treasure isn't a treasure unless it's valuable, right? It's valuable, right? And that's why the thing is, you have to understand now is what it's worth, right? What's it worth? So when you're thinking about what it's worth, right, you're not thinking about what you lose, because if you know what the value or what the worth of something is, or the treasure that you found, you're going to realize what it's worth compared to what you have. One of the problems we have is we don't like throwing things away. We don't like, oh, this is not it. Go back to the other slide. This is not it, all right? So what you have to understand right over here is you have to understand really, really clearly of what's going on, right? You have to understand what you have right now at this moment and see what you're losing. You're not actually losing anything if the thing that you get is worth more than that is, right? A treasure isn't a treasure unless it's valuable, and you have to know its worth. And if it's treasure, it's worth more than everything that you have, right? It's bigger than everything that you have, right? And this is when we have to understand, right? This is the point is, a lot of times, right? These treasures that we have, people don't realize what treasures I'm talking about, because when we talk about treasures, people think about money. When I talk about treasures, people are thinking about like cars or houses. And I'm going to talk something about something that's worth more than those things, right? What is that? Like for me, sometimes the treasure that I have to figure out is my faith, right? Sometimes it's about love. Sometimes that treasure I find is people, right? And sometimes it's like, it's something so important. Like even if I give you the example of people, you'll realize how much more this valuable treasure of a person is more than what you have. Why? Because I know so many parents that would give up their life for their child because it's worth more than anything that they have. That's a treasure. You just know it's worth more than anything that you have. This is why when you watch like TV series, this is why when you watch movies, what happens? In TV series and movies, in order to get someone to do something you want, you kidnap their wife, you kidnap their child. And you're like, I'll kill them if you don't do it. Because to them, it's worth more than anything in their life. You have to find those treasures that are worth more than these things that you have. You see, this last point I wanted to give you about when it comes down to value your treasure is people don't know what you value, right? People don't know what you value. Now, what does that mean? A treasure is your treasure, and the value is dependent upon you, like a child. Someone else's child is not valuable to you like your own child, right? That treasure is yours. When you value, understand it, don't let other people sway your mind from it. Let me give an example about Atan. Think about it. He's buying a field and everyone's looking at him selling everything that he has. And they're like, dude, why are you selling your oxen? How are you plow your field without an ox? Are you crazy? Dude, that's stupid. You know, just for the sake of you wanting to be an owner, you're going to do it like this? What? Are you crazy? But only Atan knows the value of that field. That is worth more than the oxen. It's worth more than anything else. But all the other people are going to think he's stupid. All the other people are going to think he's worthless. All the people are going to think that he's got nothing. Right? He is not the stupid one. Why? Because it only looks stupid from their eyes, but not from yours. And this is why when it comes to things like love, people think you're stupid when it comes to love, right? It's like, why would you do that? Why? What, all for love? And the answer is yes, some people will do that for love. Selling everything, what does that mean? It means that you understand it's worth more than everything that you have. It doesn't literally mean once you find something valuable, go sell everything that you have, go sell your house, go sell your cars. No, it means worth more than everything that you have in your life, right? You see, this last verse I'm going to show you about how important valuing your treasure is. It's in John chapter 15, verse 13. It's a very, very interesting verse. And what it says is, greater love has no one than this, to lay down one life for a friend, right? It is, you got to think about this. When it comes to life or treasure like life, something so valuable to you, the only thing it's worth is life itself, life for life. That's why no one, like when it comes to love, no one can say, okay, for your love. Okay, I got 10,000. No, 100,000. I'll give you 100,000 for your love. Like no one can buy it. It's the value is far beyond all these physical treasures we have in this world. These treasures that we're seeking and finding, you'll know it because it's so valuable to you. And people realize it when they find it. Like, wow, when people find themselves, right? In the end, the real answer is actually, the treasure is actually yourself. It's discovering yourself, the things that you like, the things that you value, right? You're actually discovering yourself with anything else, right? This last point of this section I'm going to tell you, and the last point of today is, if you value something, it requires development. If you really, really value it. And you'll be like, what? Let me ask you this question. When you buy a car, when you own that car, it's valuable to you because it's your car that you bought. Here's the thing. Do you leave it as is, or do you start to decorate it? You'll like put like air freshener in there, like a Hello Kitty, like mats on there. You're gonna put like a, you're gonna put like a humidifier. You're gonna like put mats on the ground. It's like all of a sudden you start spending more. You just spent like $50,000-$60,000 on it, and you're gonna spend more money. Why? Because when you understand the value, you start to develop it more. You realize how good it is. It's like a house. Think about this. When you buy a house is like so much money, but once you buy it, you start decorating it even more. You develop it even more, right? And in the same way too, when you find the value of yourself, when you find the treasures around you, whether it's your faith, whether it's love, whether it's people around you, you will start to develop it. You're going to develop the relationship. I'm going to develop myself. Develop my love. How do I develop? I'm going to raise it to another level. These are things you have to understand. When you start to value something really like highly, you are guaranteed to develop because it means that much more to you. All right. So I hope that everyone today understood the three major points from 2 sentences. As crazy as that is, from 2 sentences, we were able to get these 3 major points. Treasures are discovered while you're working. You got to dig deep. And also, you have to value what you treasure, okay? So I hope everyone has an amazing time. Those of you guys are here for the first time, thank you for joining us. We have these Taco Tuesday. It's the 12th Taco Tuesday, but altogether, I think we've done maybe like 30 on Tuesdays. And on Thursdays, we have Bubble Talks, and those things we've done like another 35, 36 of those. All those videos are going to be on the YouTube channel, Espresso with Sky. We're going to put the link in the description. Guys, one cool thing you need to know is we are almost 1,000 subscribers. We are only 12 away. We're at 988. So if you haven't subscribed, go ahead, subscribe, hit the link, hit the notification bell. We'll tell you every time that we upload a video and every time we go live, right? So come and help us to hit 1,000. Hope we can hit that by today or tomorrow. And those of you on Facebook, just keep liking and come on over to YouTube too. And you guys can go ahead and like and subscribe and hit the notification bell there also. Those of you who want to support this ministry, go ahead and click that link and you're on Patreon. And last but not least, every Saturday at 1 p.m., we do have small group studies, Bible studies. Those of you guys want to join, there's another link for that. You guys can just sign up for that too. All right, so that means it's time for Q&A. Everyone, you can start writing down your questions, and we'll get into it after I get my sip of honey lime fresh tea. All right, here we go. So let's go to today's questions of the day. Start with the very first question. First question is from, what does it say? It is from Shelly in Singapore. And the question is, I'm not sure what it means to discover the treasure. How does working allow you to discover treasure? Okay, so what does it mean to discover the treasure? 1 second. Okay, so what does it mean to discover the treasure? Now, discovering the treasure means that, there are different treasures for different people. Like, for instance, I'll tell you, like, one of the treasures I might find in my life is, like, the value of my parents, right? People may not understand how valuable your parents are till later in life. That's another big valuable treasure, right? So how would I understand the value of my parents? Well, through working. And you're like, what do you mean? To go get a job? No. Is when I do the same work as my parents. And you're like, what? What does that mean? So in the midst of me doing my work not meaning so much like a job, but it's doing works of life. Many people begin to realize the value of their parents, and just the depth of their love is after they become parents, right? So in the midst of you being a parent, you realize, wow, my mom did this for me. Wow, my dad loved me this much. And in the midst of doing that work of life, you realize and discover these treasures, right? So this is one of the ways when it comes to the value of your parents. You're able to realize it as you're doing the work of parents. You realize, oh my goodness, my parents are amazing, right? And it could be in work. You can realize the value of work itself, the value of money when you spend it or when you lose it, or when you experience something where you buy your first car. It could be a Myvi or something that's really cheap car, but you realize how valuable it really is because you worked for every single penny, right? So these are some of the treasures that you can discover. I hope that makes sense, Shelly. All right, let's move on to the next person. Next person is John in KL says, what happens if I lose value in something? How do I get it back? Yes, and this is something that's very interesting. What happens to a lot of people is we do tend to lose value in things pretty quickly. It's like whatever it is. In the beginning, you're like, oh my gosh, it's so valuable. But then later, you're like, hey, and then you kind of like chuck it out of the way, right? Because you kind of lost value, right? So what allows you to keep the value of something? Now, I'm going to give you just one hint that will help you to keep value of something, okay? And this might seem really weird. I'm telling you right now, if you are always thankful for that one thing you have, you will always be reminded of the value. How many times have you had it where you don't realize value until you lose it, right? So when you lose, like, oh, I don't have it, right? Oh no, it was so valuable in my life, right? It means that you forgot how valuable it was, which means that you're thankful every day for that thing. What does it do? It reminds you. It reminds you when you throw it away, right? It reminds you, oh, this is why it's valuable. Oh yeah, this is what my grandmother did to give this to me. Yeah, this makes more sense because I remember the time when I didn't have a pen and I was struggling and I couldn't do my test, right? So that is one piece of advice I give you is be thankful for it every day because you'll think about it all the time. You're like, oh, this is so valuable. Okay. Thank you, John, all the way over there in KL. Next question is from Taiwan. Is Kelly in Taiwan? Why do you quote the Bible so much? All right. So you might be someone who's pretty new to today's channel, which means I'll probably have one more subscriber. Yay. Okay. Either way, the reason why is, well, myself, I'm a very spiritual and I would say a faithful person. Before doing the YouTube channel, I was I'm still a pastor, but I was pastoring a church in New York. And even before that, I was a missionary. I traveled to about 23 different countries. And through my faith and through the Bible, I've been able to help tons of people. And now that my time is done doing that work, I realize, well, so many people can be helped by these things. And so many people can be edified by the things that I've learned along the path over the last 20 years doing this speaking, helping, and counseling people. So this is why I quote it so much, because it's something that I read a lot. It's something that I benefit a lot from, and when I put it into action, it helps me. And when I've taught before this YouTube channel, because this YouTube channel started in March, right? Before in March, this one started in April, maybe end of April, around there. So before that, I was already helping a lot of people. And everything I was doing was helping them was through what I learned through the Bible, right? So it's a very, there's so many books in the world. There's math books, philosophy books, sociology books, history books, and those teach those things, right? But it's very few books in the world that are actually teaching us about life, right? And this is why when it comes to helping people about life, I need to refer to a book of life, okay? Thanks, Kelly, for that great question. I believe this is the last question for today. I believe I can fly. Either one it is. This could be it, right? This is from Hannah. Hannah, in the Philippines, what if your friends do not recognize your love? Okay, so this is something that's very interesting because we have to look at it in several different ways. What does it mean that your friends don't recognize your love? Because technically speaking is, everyone shows their love in a different way also. Example, right? And this is going to be an extreme example. Someone who's been neglected in their life and doesn't have a lot of love come to them, when they receive love, it's very, very uncomfortable. So they feel, the person giving the love is like, why are they reacting like this? What's wrong with them? And a lot of times we don't really know how people really receive love or how they react to love. And sometimes because they don't receive a lot of love, they don't even know how to actually react to it in a certain way. Yes, there are people who take advantage of love. There are. And there are people that do not recognize your love. But also what we want to do is we never want to get into a position of misunderstanding. We say, hey, you don't recognize my love, or even think that, because first we need to understand them, where they're coming from, right? There are people who've been neglected, not having much love. And the way that they receive love and the way they react to it is so different than what we would do. The problem is we think they should react the way we want them to react to recognize my love. If you're going to recognize my love, you should do this, and you should do this, right? But a lot of times we need to find out about our friends too a little bit more. And sometimes they're in a situation or circumstance, they can't really help but react that way. But when you discuss and communicate with each other, which I say is one of the most important things between two people, you really, really have to discuss with each other, communicate. Because soon you could find out, oh, I'm so sorry, I had this on my mind, so I couldn't do this. Or, oh, you know what, I think I do. I don't recognize your love. I'm so sorry. But the moment you communicate, that's going to be the best thing possible. But I do suggest you guys do communicate and figure out, oh, this is what's going on, right? Before we can actually say, do they really recognize my love or not? I hope that helps you out, Hannah, because I think we should discover that first. Go into discovery. Whenever there's a court trial, right? Whenever there's a trial and someone says you are guilty, before all that, there's a time of discovering all the evidence first. And after discovering, they put the evidence on the table, and then there's a judgment at the end. So I hope that we can do the same things too. All right. This is, I believe, is the last question of the day, also from the Philippines. And this is from Mirasol in the Philippines. And she asks, is it all right to fake it till you make it when it comes to realizing the value? And the answer is yes. Yes, right? Because let me give you an example of some things that you have to fake it to make it is this. Some things you know you should value, like you know it's valuable, like your mom or your dad. Sometimes you know they're valuable, but you're just angry. You know they're valuable, but you're just like, oh, I'm just too upset or whatever it is. It could be something that someone gave you, right? But you also have to realize is you already know in your head how valuable it is, and that's why you need to fake it, right? But I don't think it's actual faking. Honestly, I don't think it's like, I don't think the fake that you're talking about is the same, is the fake that other people are thinking. Like faking it means that I super hate you. You are the worst thing ever. You're not valuable, so I'm just gonna fake it, right? You're kind of like, there's some things we know in life that are really, really valuable. They're really valuable. But sometimes we don't feel it, and sometimes we don't see it. And we're like, I know it's valuable, but I just can't see, I don't understand why it's valuable, right? And fake it till you make it is very interesting because a lot of times studies show that, like for instance, let me give you a story of fake it till you make it is people who are not confident. What does it mean to fake it till you make it? Well, people who are not confident can gain confidence just by body posture, right? There are some poses you call power poses, right? And what happens is, studies show that people who sit or stand in a power pose for 2 minutes will take more risks. It does actually affects their mind. That's why, you think in one sense is, the way that your mind is, I'm scared, then you're like this, right? So your body reacts to what your mind is like. But the interesting thing is, your mind also reacts to the way your body is. So even if I'm not confident, but I stand confident, I become more and more confident, right? So when it comes to fake it till you make it, yeah, fake it till you make it kind of sounds really like a bad thing because it sounds like it's not true or real. But I'm going to be honest, is sometimes I don't, sometimes I wonder, I'm like, oh, my brother, why is my, but I know my brother's valuable. Just at that moment, I don't see why he's valuable at that moment, right? But it's not like I'm going to treat him terribly because I do know in the future is because he's valuable, he's someone I don't want to regret about, like treating him in a certain way. He's someone that I love. So I don't think it's actually faking it. It's just sometimes your emotions and the way you think goes up and down. Why? Because people do different things. We go through different experiences. But faking it till you make it, I think more so it is, you already know it's valuable, or else you wouldn't fake it, right? You wouldn't fake it if you didn't know it's valuable. Like if we're talking like the bad faking, it's like treating, like this is someone you have nothing to do with, and then you treat them so well, overly, you're so pretty, you're so beautiful, but inside, you're just saying it because for the sake of saying it, and you're totally faking it, right? That's completely different. It's a very sinister and evil way of faking, right? But what we're talking about is things that are valuable, and we know it's valuable, and yeah, I don't want to ever regret treating my parents badly. So sometimes even when I don't feel it, I know that my parents are valuable. I might not feel it at the time, or they might have done something to me that made me upset, but I know they're valuable. So I'm not really faking it. I am controlling my body. I'm controlling myself. Because one thing we do know is this: the moment you become emotional, you don't think properly. Which means if I notice that my mind is not in the right place, treating them bad is not the right decision because I know I'm irrational and emotional. Okay. Thank you, Mirasol, for that wonderful question. We'll go into this is the last question for today. Sheena Gamayao, where are you from? Are you from Philippines too? Maybe? Philippines or, yeah, maybe. Okay. Not sure. We're not sure where Sheena is from. Okay. Do we really have to let go of something just to gain the hidden treasure? Well, here's the thing. Remember when I say you have to let go of something, in some instances you have no choice. Like for instance, here's one for sure. If you have a husband, you have to let go of your ex-boyfriend. Like you need to let go, right? Straight up, you need to let go. Like in that situation, you gotta let go of something. But the more symbolic meaning of letting things go or selling everything that you have is understanding the priority of the value of that treasure, right? So it's not like if I find a wife, I throw away my family and my mom and my dad. I'm totally not doing that. But when I sell everything, my wife is at the top, above everyone else, right? And what have I done? When it comes to her, I've sold everything, right? So it doesn't mean literally letting go, but some things you do, right? And it especially has to do with the priorities in your mind, right? Is it the most important thing or not, right? So there are some things you have to literally let go. Like if you get a new job, you got to let go of your old job. Makes sense, right? If I want to buy some clothes, I got to let go of the money. I'm not letting go, right? So those are some obvious things. But when it comes to these treasures that are worth more than all the things that we have, what it means is basically putting it high on the priority list, which means I sold everything for this. This is the number one thing that matters more than anything else, right? And that's what it means to let go of something or sell everything, right? There are something that are physically we have to, but in one case, more than not, this is talking about these treasures that are so valuable. Is talking about where is it in your ranking of your priorities, if that makes more sense. Cool. All right. So that looks like the last question for today. Very, very grateful for all of you joining us here today on the Taco Tuesday. It is the 12th Taco Tuesday. Everyone have an amazing and wonderful, wonderful week. And we'll see you guys next week. Everyone, take care. Bye-bye.